Hi, my name is Marietta Colston-Davis, but I'm originally from a place called Urbandale, Iowa. Population African American, pretty much close to zero, aside from my family. I grew up there. I was born in Des Moines, which is Urbandale, a suburb of Des Moines, and I was the first African American to go through the Urbandale School District. And by way of a wide variety of things, got called the N-word every day. At 4, I went into the first grade. I recall a cross being burned in our front yard because we were the first African Americans to enter Urbandale, Iowa. And I woke my parents up because I thought it was a bonfire to have s'mores. And it turned out that it was a little bit more than that. So the Klan had done a little clandestine visit to my family. And so I was always raised with a sense of purpose and a sense of giving back. Educated parents, they graduated from the University of Minnesota. They were college sweethearts, Dad a Kappa, Mama Delta. So it makes no question that I'm a Delta. But I'm a part of the divine being. And my parents just raised me to give back, and that education and purpose was so much a part of who I was and what I wanted to be, but also to give back. Each one reach one, each one teach one, help those that look like you to be more than they could be. And I think that was always sort of the platform that I established for myself. I wanted to be like either Barbara Walters or Oprah Winfrey. And this company called IBM came calling and said, take a logic test because we're looking for communications majors. I had never set foot in the College of Business or technology. I guess I scored high on the logic test. And they offered me a job. I already had a job as a weather girl at KCC, Iowa in Des Moines, $12,000. But IBM came in with the mighty 25. And I was like, I don't know what they do, but I need shoes. I like to shop. I'm going to do that. And that is how my entree into technology started. And it's been over 39 years. And it's been a heck of a ride. It was to train us to go out and have a conversation with a client. And so it taught us how to read an annual report. It taught us how to read a 10K report and make sure that we understood SG&A and how a particular client in their particular industry lined up with SG&A and how the ROI could be achieved based upon different workflows. And so really it was a master's degree before I actually got my master's degree. My job for 18 months was to be educated, to be infused with knowledge, to go out, to observe, to learn, to test my skills, to see when you're on a sales call and a client goes in a direction that you're not comfortable with, how can you rally? And they taught us to manage ourselves in the worst of worst so that when the best came, that was fine. But as an African-American female calling on a place called World Color Press in Litchfield, Illinois, where Black people were not allowed to be on the street after 6 p.m. when I was a rep, and I had talked to the client multiple times. But when I arrived, the client wasn't ready. He was a data processing manager, wasn't ready for what he saw. And he was disappointed. And he said, what have I done to IBM? They sent me a little kid, a female, and a Black woman. And I don't understand why that happened. There are a couple of ways I could have taken that. I could have become very defensive and kind of put on my Black Panther shield. But at that moment, I said, listen, at the end of the day, I'm here to save you money. I'm here to help your business be successful. The products I sell are gray. They know no color. So if you want to bet on a highly educated, very phenomenal African-American female called me that I believe in, I can help you. Or if not, I can take myself right on back to Peoria, Illinois, and they could give you somebody different. he spoke at my wedding. So many years later, I spoke at his funeral. It's about a relationship. It is about getting people to the most common denominator. And I'm good at that because it means a lot to me. And I think that it's not about technology sales. It's not about any kind of sale. It is about people buy from people they trust and that they believe in. And can you relate to people at the most common level they're at and help them build from that point? Well, actually, I feel like coding is better. Development's better. I am a huge supporter of Black Girls Code. And so I believe when you can come in through the technical ranks, there's no ambiguity. It is, I've developed this code. It works. It's black or white. It's binary. It's on or off. When you come in through sales, it's all about, can you connect with the client? Is your visual outlook that of the client? You take a Black girl like me, when I was the general manager here in the greater Southeast, and I had Florida, Georgia, North South Carolina, and Alabama and Mississippi. Didn't really matter how good I was. When I arrived in Mississippi, this is what they saw. So it was a little extra work to get past what they saw and what their stereotypical perspective was. Had I been a developer, my code would have spoken for itself. My development stuff would have spoken for itself. I had to be the seller of me, which I got past and great, but I'd say focusing on math and science and technology skills. Sales is great, but it's not the same as sales in a wide variety of things. Technology sales is tough. It's a tough genre because you got to know a lot of stuff. You got to know on-site, you got to know subscription, you got to know the cloud, you got to know databases, you got to know, developmental code, you have to know hybrid environments. You have to know enough about everything to be able to hear what your client is saying, synthesize it, to say, wait a minute, I've heard this at another healthcare company. I've heard this at another retailer. I've heard this at another distributor. And how at that moment I can communicate to you that I think I can have an impact and save you money on the spot. The experience interviewing at Microsoft was second to none. All the soda you wanted, all the lunches, everybody was incredibly gracious. And the Microsoft interviewing process is grueling. I think I talked to 9 people that day, and maybe I had to go back and talk to 3 or 4 more. But it was just so positive. They were so energetic. They were so about Team Marietta that I was super excited about joining the company. And so I started as a rep, an individual contributor, even though I had been in leadership roles prior to that. And 17 years later, I ended up as the highest ranking African-American female partner at Microsoft. And there was a lot of stuff that took place in between. First line management, different role. I think if there's anything I want to leave anybody with, it is keep your mind open to being nimble. Keep your mind open to doing a wide variety of things and be aware of anything that might make you feel uncomfortable and consider doing it. All you have to do is look at the stats, look at the numbers. Less than 1% of all African-American females sit on boards, publicly traded boards, which says that there are very few of us that are coming out of the pipeline, or very few of us that are considered to be viable. At IBM, when I took the reins of the role I was in, there were many African-American females who had been there longer than me and were more successful than me. But I was only the second African-American female that was a managing director at IBM. There are others now. But what does that say? That says it's a road less traveled. It's not about how brilliant I was. It's not about how smart I was. Because there were others that were far, that'd been there longer. But what was it that made the difference? I think you got to have a tough skin. I think you got to be able to stand up for yourself. I think you got to be able to call a thing a thing. And know that white men are the lead. White females are second. African American men are people of color, whether it's, Indians, Latinos, Latinas, whatever. And then the African American is frankly, the last at the table. I mean, no one wants to hear it. I don't like the words to come from my mouth, but it's the reality. And I don't have to speak to it. The stats speak to it. And so just be careful what you wish for. You might get it and understand. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. It was 3 kids. He has a daughter and 2 black sons. And I said, I want you to know that your daughter is going to face more. Don't put the same expectations on her as you do your sons. Because there are doors that are going to be open for a male that are not going to open for a female. It doesn't make it easier. Your black sons are going to have to deal with a lot. And if people struggle with that, that's on them. I think this notion that says we can't find anybody, you can find them if the environment will support that. Are there a plethora of us? No. Is it easier to find the status quo than us? Yes. But there are ways that you can find us. I think the key is when you do find us, what are you doing to retain us? When you get us, what are you doing to retain us? Do you understand my walk's different? Do you understand what I had to endure in Mississippi that my white female counterpart never had to endure? No, you probably don't, because they're more comfortable with their sisters and their daughters and their nieces and their wives. I come in 6 foot with big hair, and it can be overwhelming. And so there are some subliminal things from a retention perspective that have to be spoken, that have to be understood, that have to be embraced. And there are some in the majority, and I've been fortunate that much of my success and a lot of my upward mobility has been based upon, white males that believed in me, because the brothers weren't out there, the sisters weren't out there, because the numbers weren't there. But I was fortunate enough to do that. But for now, those of us who are in a position of power, I would always look for, where can I have a chief of staff that's a person of color or a Latina? Where is it that I can have an assistant that is a person of color? Where can I surround myself when I come in the room? People are clear. She got the black girl magic going on. She got the best, she got the brightest, and she got those who can represent themselves. So we can do the same. I would say to my younger self, get ready. If there's anything that you could work on being your total authentic self, but feeling good about it. Because there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be out there that are not going to they're not going to support being good about yourself. My book's name is From Autism to Beyond, A Mother's Journey of Hope. I feel like Vanna White. There they are. And for my sorority sisters, they see 2 elephants on the screen. And I wanted to chronicle what it was like to live and be in corporate America and never share with anybody. My kids had special needs, but in particular, my oldest son. What it was like to have what is now an ex-husband, but a husband at that time that suffered from addiction and a wide variety of addiction. Having to really put on the face every single day and be this leader and come home and be gaslit and emotionally abused and have kids that were not typical, and acknowledge and verbally be vulnerable enough to talk about some of the vices I used at that time, whether it was eating, overeating, alcohol, whatever it was, to get through, to be able to make it through. And now 1 in 44 kids are diagnosed with autism. At that time, it felt like 1 in 44 million. And the journey was hard and the walk was hard. And I wanted to speak to the soul of a mother. And what did I do wrong? Why did this happen to me? Why did this happen twice? What did I do wrong? Because I kept it to myself for many years. I didn't want anybody to know, because I just, she got these kids with special needs. She's not going to be able to do this and that, the other. And they are so much of what bolstered me every single day to go out and slay dragons, because it was because of them that I did it.